All right, what is up, guys, and welcome to the first review of this channel. Today we'll be having a bit of a comparison between the Phicen or TBLeague. What's the new? They changed their name, so I think it's actually TBLeague now. But Phicen / TBLeague Seamless Body M32, and this is the WorldBox Crazy Durable 2023 AT020. Now, I don't know if 2023 is part of the name, but it's on the box, so I said it. All right. Now, I have had this one, the M32, for many months. I just got the WorldBox very, very recently. And the reason I got it is because, as you'll see later in the review, sometimes it's hard to find clothes that fit the Phicen body because it's a bit bulkier and this is pretty skinny, so the clothes fit it much better and stuff. I was also told that the joints on the WorldBox are very, very strong, so it can hold metal accessories, and we're going to be testing that out today too. And I wanted to basically get a cheaper body that I could use for stop motion, because I didn't really need seamless for everything. Of course, if the figure is not having a shirt on, then you might want to use seamless, but if it's a fully shirted up figure, you don't need to see the joints and all that stuff because the clothes are over there, right? So I wanted to try it out and see if it could fit that purpose for me. So this review will act basically as a way for me to show what I like and dislike about each of them, how I think they stack up next to each other, and you can basically decide for yourself which you think is better overall. So without further ado, let's begin. All right, so the first category of this comparison is the look or the aesthetic, right? How does the figure look? Now, I will say this one, the WorldBox, has molded male parts. The Phicen had like little separate parts that you could, I guess, Google one or whatever. I don't have those. I tossed them away. I didn't need those for any reason. So just letting people know, this, like, you have to, if you want to get rid of that, you'd have to like probably sand it off or something. Okay, this one's just like a Ken doll under there. So yeah, the look of it though, I mean, for me, this is pretty easy. The clear winner is the Phicen. I mean, is like seamless silicone skin, man. I mean, you can't really beat this. Okay. The best thing I've seen, which could possibly compare to the Phicen, like seamless silicone like body or whatever, I saw something on eBay that had, basically, it had no joints whatsoever, right? So you see how here there's a wrist joint, right? It had no wrist joint. It was all seamless, and the fingers were articulated. But I think it cost like $200 or something. I wasn't gonna buy that, okay? And then the head, of course, of it, there's no joint here. There's no cut here. It's just all one figure. Like, it's just completely seamless all the way through. But it has articulated fingers and probably articulated toes as well. I don't know what it's called. I didn't look at it very much, but I did see it. And that is the only figure or doll of this size that I've seen that I think would look better than the Phicen. Because with the Phicen, like, it looks great overall, right? Overall, it looks fantastic, okay? But the problem for me is sometimes the wrist joint just looks a little weird. So it looks like a little like bulb there. It just looks a little bizarre sometimes, the wrist part. The feet are not as bad. Obviously you can't see because I have the clothes on, but the feet are not as bad. But the wrist, I really think, just don't look very good. And sometimes you have to like adjust the silicone, like twist it around to make it line up. For example, if you had the silicone like this, you see how that looks? That just looks horrible. So you'd have to like twist the silicone around to make it look a little more natural, right? The anatomy, this body, the M32, is based on Bruce Lee, as far as I'm aware. So it's supposed to be like, you know, kind of a skinny Asian martial artist kind of body. And I do think, though, it's still, you know, Bruce Lee was really, really skinny. So this body, I think it is actually too buff to be Bruce Lee. Because if you look at this, this is much thinner than that is. And this is supposed to be a skinny person. Of course, there are other Phicen bodies, which are like, you have the M33, which I also have. What else is there? The M33, M36 is like a tall basketball player kind of body. The M31 is kind of similar to this, but less defined and has a longer chest. But they're all pretty much this, well, the M33 is a little bulkier because it's supposed to be like a super muscular body. The basketball body, I think, like the same size as this, but is longer, taller. So Phicen overall is just like a much bulkier body. So if you want like a very skinny character, like Bruce Lee, for example, I don't think it really works that well because it's just a bit too buff. It's just too big, you know. Like, look at this, right? This is more how big Bruce Lee should be. Like, Bruce Lee was a really skinny dude, and this is just a little too, you probably can't tell on camera as well, but it is pretty significantly bulkier than this one, right? And I think that that is a problem if you're going for Bruce Lee. Of course, I'm not using it for Bruce Lee, so that's not really an issue for me personally, but if that's what you're going for, then you may be a bit disappointed that it is a little too bulky. All right, so Phicen overall, I'd say it looks great, except for the wrist joint areas. I just don't like how you have to like twist the silicone around to make it look nice and stuff in certain angles. But overall, you know, pretty fantastic. I mean, it's literally just, artistically speaking, is a very beautifully well done doll, right? Now this, the WorldBox, I would say it is clearly much less aesthetically pleasing to look at. Okay, I would not recommend if you had a figure like, you know, with a shirt off to use this, because it, compared to the Phicen, it looks horrible. Okay, as far as all the joints go and all that stuff. And I mean, before I found out about Phicen, I was totally fine with bodies with joints like this and stuff. But once I discovered Phicen, man, I'm like, I can't really, I'm not completely satisfied showing a figure with a shirt off and you're seeing all these joints and stuff. For example, the Mr. Z Child body. In fact, let me just get that and show you all really quick what I'm talking about. Give me one moment. For example, this is a character, a little boy named Akira from my animated series called God's Last King, right? And there's no seamless child body. So there's no way for me to have him looking like that as a child. You see what I'm saying? And I really hate, now that I've discovered Phicen, I hate seeing all these joints, screws in the back and all that stuff, you know. I just really don't like how it looks. So I really hope that a seamless child body is made at some point, because that'd be really fantastic. But yeah, so that's what I mean. I don't like seeing all of this joint stuff for the figures, and that's what you're going to get with WorldBox if you have a shirt off or anything. But if you're going to have the figure clothed, I'd say WorldBox, you know, it'll be much more acceptable. However, I do think, as far as the aesthetic, right, the neck, to me, the neck looks a bit long. You see how long the neck looks? Now, I don't know if that's just a problem with my specific figure, but the neck just looks so long, like a giraffe, you know, like a giraffe over here, man. Because look at the Phicen. That looks much more normal. And look at that. There's like a long neck. So I don't like that either. What else is there? Now, on the torso for the WorldBox, like right here, there's this cut, but you can't really do much with it. So I don't know why it's there. It's kind of, I think it's pretty useless and unnecessary. It just adds another joint that doesn't really need to be there. Okay, so there's that as well. And the neck is really bizarre. We're probably gonna get into that later, but overall, you know, if you're gonna have the figure with no shirt on, WorldBox is not the way to go. I would definitely go with a Phicen for that. Okay, so in the category of look or aesthetic, I say Phicen definitely wins, hands down. And I haven't decided on a point system for this. Let's say, I guess it'd just be like 1 point for each category, right? Which one wins the category? So Phicen has 1 point. Let's go on to the next category. So the next category is feel, okay? And once again, I'm just gonna be honest, man. The Phicen feels pretty awesome. I mean, overall, it's great. It's easy to move. And the thing is, like, even though it's easy to move, the joints are not weak. You know, the joints are very strong, very sturdy. It has a stainless steel skeleton under the silicone or whatever material this is. So it is really just great. I mean, it's great to feel. It honestly is a lot heavier than my other plastic dolls, right? Or figures, whatever you want to call them. But this one's actually pretty heavy too. The WorldBox is not, it may be, I'm not even sure which one's heavier. And my scale of the batteries dead, so I can't even weigh them. But I think they're very similar in weight, honestly. I can't feel much of a difference, and I'm very surprised because I thought the WorldBox would be very light because it's like supposed to be just plastic, but I guess it's like a hard, heavy plastic, which is why they have such strong joints and stuff. Now, as far as the feel of the WorldBox, right? The joints are very, very stiff, which is a good and bad thing, okay? It is good in terms of you can pose the figure and it'll hold the pose and all that stuff, but the joints are so tough, man, that is sometimes it's even hard to get them to move. So I definitely don't like that. It also, of course, I mean, this is like soft silicone, like real human skin. This is, you know, hard plastic. So once again, when you go with the feel in this category, I'd have to say Phicen takes another point. So that's 2 points for Phicen, 0 for WorldBox thus far. Next category, let's go. Now we move on to the articulation. Now the articulation for these, I believe, is very similar. Okay, I don't have like a model of what the Phicen stainless steel skeleton looks like, but you can do this. You know, you can put his arm all around here like that. You see, you can, you know, go back like that, right? Go forward. Can't actually go forward that much. He can go back quite a bit, but he can't really go forward. I feel actually the skeleton stopping me. But you can, of course, curl him up like, you know, like this. And you can bend his head in there. And I think that's about as far as he will go in that way. Okay. Let's see. Of course, he has the wrist articulation here and all that stuff. Let's see how far back his head will go. His head will go back like pretty far. If you see there, yeah, his head go out pretty far. Okay. Of course, under here there's like a metal ball, so you can just rotate the head all the way around and all that stuff. Okay. What else is there? He has, of course, the elbow, double jointed elbow. His knees go like that. Okay, his wrist, well, not wrist, his ankle can go like that. You can also rotate it and swivel it a little bit side to side and stuff. And a split. Let's see how far you can split. I try to give them the exact same clothing, so the articulation comparison is very fair. Okay. Let's see. He can split like that much. Yeah, he could split quite a bit. I think he can actually, yeah, he could go like flat down on the table, but he's gonna, I think, bounce back up. Well, no, actually he stays down, I guess. All right. So yeah, that is how that one goes. And let's now look at the WorldBox. So you can do pretty much, I'd say, almost anything a real human, flexible human could do with that. He has, of course, you can see his joints. So double jointed elbow, got the wrist, all of that, right? Now this joint is just useless, as I mentioned before. I don't know what it's for. It really, you can get like what, like a centimeter of movement out of that. And then you can do his arm all the way around. Of course, with Phicen, you can't do this because you would rip the silicone probably if you try to do that. And then he has the swivel up here. What else is there? His neck can go like that. Now his neck is very strange. Let me take his head off and show you. This neck, like, I have a hard time getting it to fit on there firmly. I had to use a hair dryer to like try to push it on there, but it still doesn't feel totally solid. So, but he does have a neck joint. Okay, you can rotate it and do stuff with it, but I don't want to play with it too much because I'm just not sure if mine is defective or if that's just how WorldBox is designed. I don't know. But yeah, so our leg can go up like that. Knee can go like that. His ankle can go like that, right? Can rotate it. I think you can you swivel it? Maybe not. Maybe you can't swivel side to side, but you can do like this and you can rotate it side to side. Let's try the same position we did with the other one. Him crouching over, you know. Let's see. Hold on. All right. Now you see this one can't really do that pose as well because this ab crunch thing doesn't work that well. So you can't really hunch over. You can't get as far in as the other one, as the Phicen or TBLeague can. Let me try actually putting it back in that position and see. Let me see. Oh, well, it bent. Oh, well, it wasn't bending forward like that before, but now it is. Okay, so yeah, Phicen's not playing games. This is the comparison here. Phicen is obviously way better there too. I mean, Phicen is just whooping WorldBox right now for the most part, it seems. The only advantage I can see with the WorldBox so far is that he can, you know, move his arm like this. And when would you really need to do a full 360 like that anyway? So yeah, you know, WorldBox. I see the neck is ready to look at that. The neck is ready to come off. It's really hard for me getting that neck to stay on there. I don't know. Oh, I forgot to show the split. The split for this one. Let's see, how far can it split? I think that's about how far that can split. I don't believe it can do. Yeah, that's about as far as WorldBox can split, man. Cannot split very much at all compared to the Phicen TBLeague. And another thing I want to show real quick, let me just see how this goes. Yeah, so like this, he can go like that. This one can go like that, which is about the same, very similar, I would say. Although the WorldBox is a bit higher. Oh no, well, very similar there. As far as a side kick goes, like this, WorldBox can't do very much. Not, at least not mine. Yeah, that's as far as you can go. Phicen can do a bit more, I think. Not great either, but I think it's a little bit better than the WorldBox, right? So yeah, that is pretty much the articulation comparison. Is there anything else? I don't believe so that I can think of at the moment. So once again, Phicen TBLeague winner. All right, now let's get into accessories and parts. So for the Phicen M32 or TBLeague M32, the accessories are just like these open hands here, right? He also has, let me take them out of the bag, 2 fists right here, 2 fists, right? And these like martial arts hands for the Bruce Lee stuff. He also has this little like yellow, like I guess fighting trunks or whatever. As I mentioned, he also had some male anatomy that you could glue on and all that kind of stuff. What else is there? So for the WorldBox, his accessories, I guess he has a bit more parts, swappable parts. Of course, he has the neck, which you see here, that I have some complaints about. He has these 2 open hands like that, right? He also has some other parts over here in this bag. Let's see. So he has a bunch of these like little pegs. I guess you can like put different pegs in the neck. Because if you look at the neck, take the head off, this peg here, I guess you could switch it out with different size pegs. There are 4 of them here. There are 4. So there's these 2. You have to put them like, there's these 2, right? So that one has the like, that's one. This is another one. Then you have this one. And then you have this one here, right? And then he has some hands. He has these hands, which are like, I think they're like gun trigger holding hands. He has these open hands to like hold weapons, right? or accessories. Then he has these two fists, right? So let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'd say the WorldBox has 8 pairs of hands. The TBLeague has 6 pairs of hands. But the TBLeague also has this little Bruce Lee shorts thing. So I guess with accessories, I'm kind of torn because the WorldBox has more parts, but the fact that Phicen actually comes with clothes and is cloth, good quality cloth clothing. Oof, I'm really torn. I'm not sure who to give the rating to here. I'm actually really kind of stuck. You know what? Since, you know, so the Phicen, for example, if you bought this figure, you can't actually have it hold any accessories, so that's a real downside. So I'm going to give the point to WorldBox here because you can actually hold accessories with these hands. So WorldBox gets his first point for accessories and parts. All right, now we're gonna do a strength test, basically to test the strength of the joints, particularly the hands. The reason I'm doing this is because for my animated series, I want to use some metal swords, and so it was very important for me to actually get figures that could hold these, because I have a very cheap plastic doll that when I put it to hold weapons like this, it just can't hold them. It slouches over and stuff. It's too weak to hold them. But this one can hold them, and the WorldBox can also hold them. But I'm going to compare which is stronger. Okay. Now for the Phicen, to change the hands out, I recommend heating them up with a hair dryer to make it easy. Because sometimes it really could be a hard time trying to wrestle them off there. So I'm going to do that real quick. Just heat these hands up and swap them out with these weapon holding hands, which I got from a different TBLeague figure that did not come with this particular figure. All right, so I used the hair dryer, and those are now on his body. For the WorldBox, you can just pull them off, and it should be good. Although you might pull out. Let me see. Oh, yeah, it can be a little jumpy, but you get it up. Then you put this on. It's definitely easier than the Phicen. All right, that's on there, and then get this. I'd recommend actually putting your nail on that little ball to keep it from popping out, because that might actually pop out too. You want to just get the hand. Yeah, okay. And let's see, let's get this. So I'm going to test them holding this metal sword with one hand and then with two hands. Okay, so first up is TBLeague, and let's go. So here's a sword. I'm gonna just extend his hand this way and have him hold the sword and see how well he does. All right, got that. So hard to get in there. All right, so hold on. So he's not holding it very firmly. Okay, there we go. All right, so he can hold that. But is if I lean forward a bit, see that? Yeah, his wrist is actually not holding it very well, and his hand is not having a very solid grip on it, if you look at there, right? So let's compare now to the WorldBox. Let's see. Let's get this one. These hands are super tough. All right, now let me just hold it out like that, and he's having, I guess, a pretty similar effect. He's also not holding it firmly in there, but I think it is a little bit better than the Phicen. Although let me let him stand up and see. Hold on. He's actually, I guess, ready to fall over. Maybe the Phicen is heavier. The steel skeleton probably helps it to hold weight like this and not fall over as easily. You see, he won't even stand up by himself. Okay, so their wrists reacted pretty much the same way, and the WorldBox had a much harder time standing up. You see the Phicen didn't really fall over. His wrist kind of flopped over, couldn't really hold the sword. Oh, let me see. Let's look at it again. Yeah, so he's like that. But I think he can stand. Yeah, he can stand pretty well without me holding him, but the WorldBox couldn't. So as far as that goes, I'd have to say Phicen has a point there, because their wrist reacted pretty much the same. Now I'm gonna try both hands, okay? Let's see how they do with both hands. Put that through there, and then through here. Hold on. All right, both hands. Okay, he can do that pretty well. Totally fine. Let me see. Can he do that? Yep. And he's standing. Okay. So I think, oh, no, he's off balance again. I think his his ankles are also so stiff that it's hard to adjust him to make him stand sometimes. But yeah, he can stand like that. And of course, if I was animating something like this, I'd have a rig on him anyways, so he wouldn't fall over. But just to note, he can stand like this with the two hands. So with the two hands, he does just fine. He does pretty okay with the two hands. All right. So let's now try Phicen or TBLeague with the two hands. See how that goes. Let's get it. One hand. His hands are much softer, so it's really easy to get the sword there. They're not super tough like the WorldBox hands are. WorldBox hands are like super hard plastic. All right. Let's see how this goes with, can he hold? Let's see. Yeah. Oh, my bad. Yeah, he can hold it with both hands. Let's try like bringing his hands up like this. Yep. That is fine. Yeah. Okay. So with the one hand, the only difference was that the Phicen, probably because it's a bit heavier, wasn't toppling over from the weight of the sword, whereas the WorldBox had a hard time standing up. Let me just give him one more chance with the one hand like this. Can he stand up? Not as easily, I don't think. Let me see. Very, very difficult. All right. He's standing, but his knees and stuff are definitely more bent. Like he's standing in an awkward position compared to the Phicen that was in a much more natural position. So I'd have to say, in this category, the strength test, because of the stability of the stance that the Phicen had, I'm gonna give the point to Phicen or TBLeague. All right, now the next category was gonna be a balance test. And I guess you've already seen from the previous one, unintentionally, that the balance on this one is not as good as the Phicen or TBLeague, but I'm still gonna give it a chance here. Now, what I'm gonna try to do is basically have the figure stand on one foot and see how well I can get it to balance. So this is kind of, I guess, a subjective category. Well, I guess they're all subjective, but you know what I mean? Is like, maybe I won't pose the TBLeague as well as I could have posed it, or, you know, stuff like that. Let me just see if I can get this Phicen to stand up on one foot. That's what the goal is here. Let me see. Now this, I feel like it's possible, but it's just maybe the ankles, because the ankles on the Phicen, I've noticed that like sometimes they're so weak or loose that it doesn't stand straight up. Sometimes if you touch it, it moves too much, or if you try to animate it, the ankles slouch over and stuff. So the ankles on this are actually not the best. Let me see. Can I get it to stand up? Oh, Oh no. Oh dear. Hold on. I think that was almost there, man. Can I get it? I don't know. I'm not a balance expert, obviously. I'm just trying to see if I can get it to stand up like this. It must be possible, but it might take a long time. And also the ankles, as I mentioned, they're not the strongest. So he's probably like moving just the tiniest amount that then causes him to start to topple over because of the weight and all that stuff. So I don't see myself being able to be successful in keeping him here, at least not in any reasonable amount of time. I'd probably need a lot more time. And I think that is, that's long enough to try for the video. So getting him to balance was not very easy because his ankles are actually pretty weak, as I mentioned before. Like if you're posing him, let's say you have him like this, and you're like animating his hand, raising in the air or whatever, his ankles will start to like lean forward like this. So his ankles are really not great. So I have to use a rig for him, or a rig for TBLeague figures, even if I am doing a stationary animation. All right, so let's see if I can get this one to balance. Of course, he didn't balance very well with the sword last time, but maybe he'll balance better than the TBLeague because he has stronger ankles. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Almost there. I think he's going to be a lot easier to balance than the other one. Let me see. Can he? Yep. He's on one foot. Perfectly balanced. Yeah. So the balance test, surprisingly, the WorldBox has taken another point. Right? I guess the ankles are, as I mentioned, the ankles are really stiff. So I think that's why he's able to balance so well. And yeah. All right, now the next category is customizability. And what I mean by this is basically how good are your chances of customizing this figure to make, you know, a custom character, because that's what I buy these for, and pretty much anyone, as far as like, well, no, some people buy them and like put their DC and Marvel figures head scans on them and all that stuff. I just make like original characters for my series, so I just use, you know, random clothes and random parts to make my own original characters. So how good is the customizability between these two? I would say WorldBox would have to be the better option for that, as far as finding clothes that fit and all that stuff, because as I mentioned before, the TBLeague, it is a little bit more bulky than this is. This is the skinny look of this. See how tiny this looks, the skinny look? That is closer to how most of these plastic 1/6 scale figures look, right? Most of them are not as bulky as the TBLeague is. So a lot of the clothes you will buy, like if you buy like a shirt or pants and all that stuff, they may not fit on the Phicen very well. Actually, I bought a military style pants a while ago and it could not button around the waist of this. Or was it this? I think it was very difficult. Let's at least say that. Okay, it didn't fit on some of the Phicen figures, and it was probably very hard to fit around this body. This body, the M32, is actually, as far as size goes, the closest to these other plastic style dolls that Phicen makes for the male body, right? There's a jumpsuit that I had, for example, and I could not fit it on the M33. It was just too buffy, too buffered, too bulky. It fit on this one, but it was super tight, a very difficult fit. So when it comes to, like, you know, clothes and accessories and stuff that you want to buy to like put on your figures, the WorldBox is going to take the point for this category because it's smaller, it's skinnier, and most of the clothes should fit this. It's not going to be too bulky or, you know, trying to like squeeze the figure into the clothes or anything like that. Whereas with this, you're going to have a much harder time finding clothes that fit sometimes. What else is there? So there's also, Phicen makes an M36 which is like a big buff body, like a Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of body. And for that one, you're gonna have an even way more difficult time finding clothes that fit that, okay? Because it's way bigger and buffer than the original like basic style standard size body is. These clothes that I have here are from like a Chinese kung fu outfit kind of thing, and the pants are super big and baggy, so I don't really have a hard time fitting these pants onto the figures, which is really great for me. Of course, they look pretty buff over here, but that's the style of the pants. So yeah, WorldBox takes the point for customizability. And now we are at the last category, which is price. So the price for WorldBox, I paid about like $46 or $47 for the body. For Phicen, I believe I paid something like $70 or $80 for this body. In fact, you know what? Let me confirm real quick. All right, so for the WorldBox, I paid $46.99 with free shipping. For the Phicen, I paid $76.50 with $9.99 shipping. So like $87 for the M32. All right, so the Phicen is about 1.6 times the price of the WorldBox. And so the question here really boils down to whether you think the seamless body and all that stuff is worth the like 60% more for the price. I would have to say, for me, if you are displaying the figures like elbows or top of the chest and all that, then of course you got to go with this. This would look horrible for that, okay? But is it worth that much of a difference in price? I honestly have to say yes, because this is literally, it looks like real human skin, you know, seamless. It has a stainless steel skeleton in there and all that stuff, dude. So I think, yeah, it's worth the price. So what am I gonna do as far as giving a point in this category? That's a tough decision. I think this is worth the price, but this is cheaper, right? Although this also has better articulation, you know? So for the price, comparing these two, man, this may be a controversial opinion, but I'm going to say I have no idea. I'm just gonna give it a draw. It's just a draw. I don't know. It really depends on what you want, man. I personally think the Phicen is worth the extra money, but you don't need to buy this if you're gonna be putting a bunch of clothes on the figure, unless you need like a really, you know, great articulation. You may need the stainless steel skeleton for like poses with certain heavy weapons and stuff, maybe. But yeah, so that's totally up to you all. Now I'm gonna tally up the points and see who won overall. All right guys, so the final numbers are in, and our winner, it was a close one. It was really close. All right, the judges were pretty divided, but we did eventually reach a resolution, and I am happy to announce that the winner of the Phicen versus WorldBox comparison is Phicen, okay, or TBLeague, whatever you want to call it. This is the winner. This scored 4 points. The WorldBox scored 3 points. So it really could have gone either way. I'm surprised. I personally am very biased towards the TBLeague. I think it is super awesome. So I'm really surprised it was such a close matchup. But yeah, so Phicen has won, and I highly recommend. I think it's very good quality, very good quality. Stainless steel skeleton, has joints that can hold the heavy metal figure, well, accessories and all that stuff, and it just looks very realistic, very human-like overall, and I'm a big fan. So yeah, thanks for watching. I of course own a ton of other 1/6 scale figures and bodies and horses and clothing, all sorts of stuff. So if you guys want to see other stuff, let me know what you would like to see reviewed. I have a robot that I got recently too, a 1/6 scale robot, which I think is pretty cool. I might do a review for that. So yeah, if you have any suggestions or things you want to see me review and compare, let me know, and if I have it, then I will review it. So yeah, stay tuned for more, and I'm planning to release episode 1 part 1 of God's Last King very soon. I'm just waiting for 2 more items from eBay, and once I get those 2 items, I can finish recording the intro for the show, and once that is done, I'll be releasing part 1. Remember guys, there's a Facebook page, a GoFundMe page. I'm an animator by day, travel agent by night. If you would like help planning your trip, then feel free to reach out. My services are completely free. And thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching, liking, commenting. Anything you do to help the channel is deeply appreciated. Peace.